Okay, thank you, Pat, for this nice introduction. The question I'm raising here is what actually is a CDE? So maybe quite a funny question, but we made up this DINSPEC PAS 91391, which sets out exact criteria about what a CDE really is in terms of requirements for users and for vendors. So really the question is, can anybody claim to be a CDE, like file servers or Dropboxes or Google Drives or so? Are they really CDEs? And as you might know, there are countless vendor-specific interpretations of what a CDE might be. So it's really skyrocketing the promises we have on the market. And we felt in 2019 that the market needs more clarity, more explanations about functions of a CDE. So we came up with, let's have a look back into history to the famous PAS 1192, which speaks about a single source of information and about project documents used in a multidisciplinary teams context, and it even talks about technology like project servers or extranets, so other file-based retrieval systems. And then in 2018, the ISO 9650 came up, and they spoke not anymore about a single source of information, but just about an agreed source of information and information containers with metadata and general project information strategy, and the concept of an environment. A CDE is an environment of CDE workflow and CDE solutions. So this left some of our customers, or even might be many of our customers, with question marks in their eyes. This was a very high level of explaining things. So we came up with this DINSPEC 91391, which is just for your information. This is a German variant of the PAS standard, a fast-track development way of developing pre-standard, we can say. It's not a full-blown standard, it's just a fast-track standard, we can say. So DINSPEC and PAS is the same procedure to develop. And we gathered a consortium of other CDE vendors, not just Oracle Aconex, but also Think Project and others. Also, facility management companies and even assurance companies were interested in taking part in our effort. This was quite surprising to us, that a CDE is of interest for assurance companies and how to interact with this information inside a CDE. And we, as an initiator, had the leading part in this. I had the honor to be the lead author of this DINSPEC, and we wanted to inform, of course, our customers and our clients about what exactly is a CDE in terms of capabilities in function lists and services, and even of interfaces of a CDE. So if we look at this term of a CDE just being an environment, and I symbolize this environment as this fishbowl, and you see those little fish symbolizing CDE solutions, means real applications, and those little fish interact, and they get fed by information containers. Somebody puts in an information container, and these information containers are being processed in the CDE workflows. So just to symbolize what this environment is all about. And in the end, there is the asset information model coming up out of a sudden, some people might say. So what we do in the DINSPEC is to explain the modules of a CDE. As you see here, workflow management, data management, project administration are the main parts of a CDE, and all this on the basis of solid digital infrastructure. So otherwise it couldn't be working without data centers and so on, network infrastructure and so. Let's have a deeper look into our approach. We started off by detailing the different levels of process, from business cases down to CDE workflows. And I see Nick already shaking his head, so we have an interesting discussion afterwards probably. But so we started with this saying a business model and business processes are not on our agenda. We need not explain business how they should work. So this is not part of the DIN spec. We started off by explaining how BIM use cases are being broken down into CDE workflows, CDE use cases and CDE workflows. And there's also another part 2 of the DIN spec about CDE APIs. I come to this later. Let's have a look at this where we started. BIM use cases split or broken down into CDE use cases. What does it really mean? If we look at, for example, model coordination, and a very important use case on a CDE, and in general, of course, in a project, will be broken down into data delivery, of course, and then federation of models on the CDE, and even model checking and issue resolution processes. So this is what's happening on a CDE by putting together different discipline models into a coordination model, and then start checking it by involvement, of course, of external applications like Solibri and so, and those applications communicate between CDE and other quality checking tools. So this is all explained briefly, sometimes very deeply and detailed in the PDF version of the DIN spec. Let's have a look on another principle that should be implemented on a CDE. It's about data sovereignty and data neutrality, and we called it the data delivery principle. What does it mean? If you look at the pie symbolizing the CDE, all those pie slices are private areas of the participants in a CDE. So nobody else but this owner of this private space can look into each other's private area. And they deliver models into their private areas, uploading this from their local drives or so, via the network, of course, it's a cloud solution. So, and then they deliver it explicitly to the BIM coordinator, and only the BIM coordinator receives this models. This is in contrast to file folder-based CDEs, where you could withdraw some access rights on folders. This is the delivery principle is a safer solution to deliver data without reverting it to not being accessible anymore to some guys who are not anymore welcomed in the project. So next is how could we support tender of CDEs? And we made this checklist of 200 plus functions in Excel, and this is per each CDE module explaining in brief what the functions, the mandatory and sometimes optional functions of these modules should be or must be even. And it explains all CDE use cases, and this could be the basis for CDE tenders, so people could remove or add even lines to this function sets. And this creates comparability between platforms, CDE platforms of different vendors. So products could be compared in a quite objective way. You can download all this for free through a link I show later. But as I mentioned before, we have also a second part of the DINSPEC, and this is about open data exchange between common data environments, means applications, CDE solutions. And if you look at the fishbowl again, these little fish are being replaced by robots. You can imagine if we want to automate those processes, we need a smarter way to access the functionality inside those CDE solutions by means of other software, and this needs APIs, application programmers interfaces, so that machines can access the other CDE solution. We are already working on these specifications in several work groups. One of those work groups is the CEN work group. CEN means the European Standardization Organization. Is not known to everybody here, but it's on a European level to set out a standard about open CDE APIs and many other things it involves, like metadata and so. This is one part on the CEN level, and another part is on Building Smart International, a work group with the same name, OpenCDE API, and they released already a prototype of an open document interface, so that CDEs could, by means of programs and software, interact between, say, Solibri and our CDE to push, for example, models, discipline models, up to Solibri, and they get checked on the Solibri part and receive BCF records back through this interface. So this is a very time-efficient way to automate and exchange data by automation. So little summary. What we have seen or what we have made is like a textbook about implementing information management on a CDE. In this part one of the DINSPEC, we had also created this compressed version of function lists for supporting Tenda, and some thing we are very proud of. We managed to get this DINSPEC into the BSI Kitemark certification process. So Kitemark for BIM is now consisting the ISO 9650 and also the DINSPEC, which means the DINSPEC is now raised up to a very international level. So that's leveling up this specification. Okay, so if you want to download this, you could use either the link on the right. It's for free, as I said, all three parts, PDF version and Excel, and also part 2. But you could also approach me directly via emails or, as you like, via LinkedIn. So that's a brief overview of what we have done in the DINSPEC. Happy to hear your questions, of course, in the panel or otherwise at a coffee. Okay, thank you.